Whoa, what's going on, guys? Man, let me tell you, this thing's on, right? Yeah, I feel like a freaking king today. Feeling great, obviously, whatever, but it's cold out, so I wanted a hot coffee before I went home to get some work done since a rest day from the gym. Now, when I walked in there was nobody in the place, right? And they were doing something to, like, fix the door, I guess. So as I was walking in, 3 people opened up the double doors, which I like to think was for me. And this particular Starbucks, I kind of make friends everywhere I go. It's not on purpose. It's, I'm a halfway decent guy, and, I got a voice you don't really forget and a body you don't really see everywhere. So people kind of remember who you are. Whenever I walk into this place, and once again, just like today, half the staff goes, "The voice!" And so I walk in, the double doors are open for me, there's nobody in there, I just hear "the voice," and man, that's a good tone for the rest of your day, my friends. So it's a rest day, and we need a topic for today. Now I'm thinking, I thought about it before, so apologies if you're this far in the video and you aren't hearing what you want to hear yet, but let's talk about the glycemic index. And more importantly, why different carbs do different things for different athletes, and what may make one carb better for you as one athlete versus a different athlete, right? So, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Like, comment, subscribe. It helps us out tremendously. We're on a mission to do a lot of good for a lot of good people out there that need help. And I don't want your money. I want the ad revenue's money to help do good for everybody, because I don't need it. So, that being said, let's discuss carbohydrates in a detail of glycemic index. So first of all, what's the glycemic index, right? The glycemic index is what is fast-acting carbs versus slow-acting carbs, and I'm dumbing this down a lot. The faster a carb is acting in the body, more of like a sugar, the higher it is in the glycemic index. The lower it is, like a brown rice, the more on the low glycemic index it is. The more fibrous something is, if you will. Now, that being said, what works better for you as an athlete, you might be thinking high glycemic carbs are a bad thing. Bad things are sugars, right? But it's very far from the truth. Now let's look at when you would want a high glycemic carbohydrate. So if you're an athlete and you want carbs to get in your system fast, I'm talking your white rice, your white pastas, sugar even, right before a workout, man, it's going to do you some wonders. Now, if you want something to give you long sustained energy for the next day, I don't like low glycemic carbs in the sense of, I'm a strong believer that the human body does not need fiber, and it's very bad for you. The human body needs fiber when you're eating an average American diet of processed food and garbage that gets stuck in your system, so you need fiber to push it through. But when you're eating a healthy diet and eating clean food all the time, you'll find that your body doesn't need help processing food because it does what it's supposed to do anyway. It just works properly, right? That being said, why would you need fiber? I know personally, if I eat fiber, it just messes my stomach up. I don't need any whatsoever. Maybe some in fruit here and there because it's in there, but it's certainly not my target. You know what I mean? So that being said, if you want a carbohydrate that's going to stay in your system longer, it's not about what it is. Within reason, you don't want a sugar, right? But it's about when you have it, what your timing looks like. So the classic example is the pasta parties before, like a high school marathon or a high school track event, right? You gotta ask yourself, what's the science behind that? It goes, well, it's there, it's solid, but it shouldn't really be a pasta party prior to the race the night before. You should really be carving up 2 days before and that whole day, because at that point it gets into your cells and your body's ready to utilize it. If you eat a bunch of pasta the night before a race, it's going to get in your cells, but not nearly as much as 2 days of carb loading will do for you, right? Now, when your body absorbs and holds carbohydrates, it gets stored and utilized as something called ATP. Now, that ATP is the body's preferred fuel source, if you will. Both cardio, muscles, organs. Your organs need carbohydrates, needs glycogen. And glycogen is basically the base form of ATP. It's a fancy way of saying it. Now, if you're trying to carb up for some type of race, but you're exercising throughout, what's going to happen? Your body's going to take those carbs, absorb those carbs, but then utilize them while you're training. So if you're carbing up for anything, you want to, as crazy as it sounds, carb up and then sit on your butt and do nothing. Let your body truly absorb, man, all of those carbohydrates. You know, maybe some very light activity to pump it in the muscle a little bit, like you would if you're a bodybuilder getting backstage. Where a bodybuilder backstage, you know, they have a lot of very high glycemic carbohydrates. You know, we went from eating nothing sugar related for 4 months getting ready for a show to, what's this lady doing? Can't stand people on the road, man. To eating like Sour Patch Kids and some chocolate backstage, because that glycemic snap from the body, never seeing that, to, hey, here's some sugar. It's powerful, man. And it really does a wonder on how well the body absorbs that food. You know, it's really fascinating. So when you're backstage at a bodybuilding show, even as an athlete in general, and you have some sugar before you work out, then you go train, it's in your gut, it's starting to be absorbed into your cells, but they're taking it straight from your cells and putting it into your muscle. So it never really gets a chance to be stored. It more so just goes where you want it to be utilized, which is a pretty exciting thing. Because as an athlete, you got to remember, you want your glycogen working for you, not being stored, unless you want it working for you the next day or the day following that. So ultimately, you want carbohydrates working for you. You don't want them being stored, right? You store energy too long, you get fat. Nobody wants to be fat. You might want some extra weight on you when you're bulking up a little bit, but even a bodybuilder in the off-season doesn't want to be fat. I'm in good shape right now, but I've got a little more fat on my stomach than I would like. I can still see my abs, so I'm fine, but I'm not as lean as I like to be. But when I'm eating 6,000 calories a day, 800 grams of carbs a day, you'll find that your body has to put on a little bit of, I mean a little bit of fluff to optimally gain muscle. Because if you're not eating enough food, your body's not going to be nearly steep of a surplus enough to actually gain enough muscle for a proper anabolic, or rather an ideal anabolic response, because it'll always respond anabolically if you have the amino acids. But when you have the glycogen there too, glycogen fills up the muscle, pumps it up, makes it bigger, lets you work out harder, ripping apart more of the muscle fibers to then be repaired with the protein. You know, it's a full ecosystem, if you will. A 360 all working together, man, to make you freaking jacked. To make you be in the best shape you possibly can, regardless of what your goals are. Like the guy behind me, his goal is to be a jerk off and ride up everyone's butt. So we're going to move lanes, let him go, and there he goes. Bye-bye, dummy. And he'll get to his destination maybe a minute before me while he's weaving in and out of traffic. If he makes it there. But that's neither here nor there. So that's the gist on high glycemic carbs. Let's talk about low glycemic carbs. Now, there's not a lot to go into with low glycemic carbs. So low glycemic carbs have less of an insulin response, right? Hence being lower on the glycemic index, which the glycemic index is responsible for your body's insulin response to anything, right? So technically, protein is on the glycemic index. It's way at the bottom, but it's on the glycemic index. You know, chicken, beef, salmon, it's on the glycemic index. Technically, you wouldn't call it a carb, but it will be the lowest tier of the glycemic index rating scale, if you will. Now, like I said before about fiber, where the human body really isn't made to eat fiber, you're not supposed to have any in your diet. I'm not going to say which glycemic carbs are healthier for you, because I'm coming from a belief point of fiber is bad for you and all glycemic carbs are primarily fibrous. You know, you'll have sweet potatoes, for instance, are way less fibrous than fibrous vegetables. And to me, I would say you have a sweet potato over broccoli all day, every day, right? Regardless of the carbohydrates, it's just the fiber is not good for you. So avoid vegetables at all costs on the assumption you eat a clean diet. And you'd be amazed. It might take a day or two for your body to acclimate a little bit, but how much better you feel in all aspects. You know, your mind clarity, your gut health, how well you're synthesizing food, your muscle recovery, everything. The human body's not made to eat vegetables, guys, and I say it a lot, but I can't emphasize it enough. See, that guy's in a rush. This guy's on his phone and just doing 20 miles an hour. Come on. Sounds like he's full of fiber. He's a fiber head. You know, you wonder why vegans look malnourished all the time. It's because their body isn't really allowing them to absorb the nutrients, because the fiber is trying to shuttle everything through them so fast that what ends up happening is it can't get in there. And as crazy as it sounds, the healthiest thing a vegan can do is eat a ton of fiber to shuttle the nutrients out, to shuttle the food out, because vegans eat so much garbage in terms of chemicals, and I can't believe it's not beef, and I can't believe it's not chicken, that they're better off getting that out of their body with fiber as fast as humanly possible, just so that it'll absorb so much poison. You know, you're never going to get all of it out. You're not absorbing nutrients either, nor is it a nutrients-dense diet. And I'm seeing myself tailgate onto a vegan rant, so I won't. I'm trying to keep it about carbs, at least for the most part, right? But if you guys have been in the channel long enough, you know that's usually how it goes. This is scripted or anything. I kind of just throw the camera on the car, pick a topic, and go to town. But now on the topic of the low glycemic carbs again, even for a diabetic, you know, a diabetic, they shouldn't be having high glycemic carbs because their body's not going to have a proper insulin response, depending if you're type 1 or type 2. However, that doesn't make low glycemic carbs healthy for you. It means you have something going on in your body where you can't have high glycemic carbs. So you should really be living on like a protein, fat sort of diet. You know, a lot of red meat for your vitamins and minerals and so on and so forth. But as far as those low glycemic carbs go, man, you get the gist of what they do. But once again, based on my belief points and where I stand with everything, what are the benefits of low glycemic carbs? There aren't any. It's poison your body shouldn't be consuming, not because of the sweet potato itself, the nutrients of the sweet potato, there's nothing wrong with that, but what comes with getting that in, it's not worth it. You know, especially in here in the United States, where once again the vitamins and minerals in vegetables alone aren't bad, right? They're not going to hurt you. But what you need to consume to get those vitamins and minerals in your body, that's the problem. And not only that, most of the nutrients are blocked within insoluble fiber, vegetables, right? Now I know what you're thinking, but insoluble fiber helps you go to the bathroom. And that's fine and dandy. But when the nutrients are locked inside insoluble fiber, how do you get inside insoluble fiber? You don't. it's insoluble, meaning that all those vitamins and minerals they're saying are in vegetables, they're in vegetables, but we don't have the key. We can't get inside the insoluble fiber to get the vitamins and minerals. You see where I'm going? They just go out of you. So you never even absorb them, man. But I'm getting to where I got to be going in a hot minute here once I get through this traffic in the little town. So I think it's a fair point. So if you're an athlete, summarize this real quick. If you're an athlete, high glycemic carbs, your best friend. If you're a vegan, stop being vegan. Go pick up a steak. Be an adult. Have some steak, have some high glycemic carbs, and get to the gym. Low glycemic carbs, really not great for you. I would avoid them. All right, guys? Take care. Hope you have a great day. And let me know what you think. Cheers.